British rock band Oasis, led by guitarist-songwriter Noel Gallagher and vocalist Liam Gallagher, are famous for two things, only one of which is being a hugely successful outfit. Sure, they were definitely huge there, 70 million plus album sales, pair of Grammy nominations, immortal hit single Wonderwall, legendary status in the UK, and still rabid fan base can all attest to that. But the Gallagher brothers are arguably even more famous for having personalities that can be just a wee bit abrasive, to the point that they feuded constantly during their career, and broke up in 2009 largely because they simply could not get along. As one might expect, the Gallaghers themselves were not the only ones who harbored this sentiment. Over the years, the always outspoken duo have never been shy about igniting controversy, which in this case pretty much means trashing their peers in the press, and as such, all of their fellow celebrities who wouldn't mind giving one or both brothers a swift kick in the keister could get together for a pretty crowded party. This is stars who can't stand Oasis. Thom Yorke. The truth about Radiohead frontman Thom Yorke is that he's never been shy about expressing himself, and in a 1995 interview with London Calling, as Oasis were on the cusp of international fame, he didn't hesitate to offer his scathing opinion when asked about the newcomers. He deadpanned, "They're a joke, aren't they? They add stupid and write really primitive music and people say, oh, it's so honest, it's a freak show." Of course, the Gallaghers did not remain silent on Radiohead in a number of subsequent interviews. Most notably, Noel Gallagher absolutely trashed the band during a 2015 Esquire interview. He said, "Technically, there's better songwriters than I am. Have other people's songs ever really touched a generation though, Radiohead? When do people listen to them?" He went on to describe giving the band one more chance by checking out their Coachella set a few years prior, deciding once and for all that they were not for us as soon as Yorke started singing. Somewhat ironically, Yorke had long ago used the vocal skills so maligned by Gallagher to offer his definitive statement on Oasis. During a 1996 session for the CBC, Radiohead and members of the Posies broke out into an impromptu version of Wonderwall that saw Yorke doing his best, most mockingly nasal Liam Gallagher impression. At its conclusion, he snickered, "It's always good to make fun of Oasis." Keith Richards. Among the many false things you might believe about the Rolling Stones is that guitarist Keith Richards is actually immortal, but he has been making music long enough to have earned the right to his opinion about any band in existence, and his opinion of Oasis is, well, unfavorable. In 1997, he famously and bluntly opined that the band was crap, and in the ironically titled 2003 book, The Rolling Stones Off the Record, Richards was moved to elaborate. "These guys are just obnoxious," he said of the Gallagher brothers. "Grow up and then come back and see if you can hang. I don't hear anything there. It's all just retro to me." That same tome quoted the comically belligerent response of Liam Gallagher, who apparently was a little tired of his idols trashing his band. He said, "All these snakes coming out the closets, all these old farts. I will beat the fucking living daylight shit out of them." That goes for Keith Richards. "I'll hold you up with a good right hook." Funnily enough, during a conversation with Absolute Radio, Gallagher recalled an encounter with Richards at a bar in the Bahamas in more recent years that was slightly less antagonistic. Richards suddenly turns around and says, "Ah, you're still around, are you?" Gallagher remembered. "Your band, you were quite interesting there for a while. And I was like, I could actually say the same to you." Paul McCartney. It's no secret that Oasis is musically indebted to the Beatles, the consensus greatest band of all time, to an even greater extent than, well, pretty much all rock bands. There are Beatles references aplenty to be found in their tunes, references that tend toward the overt, and that usually consist of simply dropping the titles of Beatles songs such as "Fool on the Hill" and "Yellow Submarine" into their lyrics. They've also commented on the similarity directly. Unfortunately, with Noel famously telling MTV in 1996 that Oasis were bigger than the Beatles, and Liam telling Little White Lies in 2016 that Oasis did in 3 years what took the Beatles 8, it may not surprise you to learn that Sir Paul McCartney was never much for these comparisons. In 1997, at the height of Oasis' success, McCartney flatly stated that they were derivative and they think too much of themselves. "They mean nothing to me." McCartney revisited the subject in a 2016 interview with Q magazine. I thought the biggest mistake they made was when they said we're going to be bigger than the Beatles. So many people have said that, and it's the kiss of death. The minute you say it, everything you do from then on is going to be looked at in the light of that statement. Robbie Williams. The relationship between Oasis and their mid-90s Britpop peers take that has always been a bit complicated. Frontman Robbie Williams was buddies with Liam Gallagher for years, but their relationship turned sour when Noel, as is his wont, saw fit to publicly trash Williams by calling him the fat dancer from Take That. A not-so-friendly competition between the two bands ensued, with Williams taunting the Gallaghers over his band's success and publicly offering to fight Liam at the 2000 Brit Awards. In 2022, during a conversation with Apple Music, Williams went into detail about his distaste for Oasis, saying they were gigantic bullies to the whole industry, everybody in it. And I didn't like that. While acknowledging that the brothers may have grown as people in the intervening years, Williams admitted that he found it hard to put his feelings about the pair behind him. He said, "A lot of that still remains inside me. There's a lot of me that's like, they're fucking bullies them. I don't like bullies." Justine Frisman. The UK band Elastica only made a minor splash in the United States, but in Britain, they burned brightly, if only for a short time. Their self-titled 1995 debut album shot to #1 on the UK charts, and charismatic frontwoman Justine Frisman managed to also become a staple of the tabloids by way of her romance with Damon Albarn. The frontman for Blur, Frisman's problem with the Gallagher brothers was due to an unsurprising circumstance, a crude remark made about her in the press by Liam. It seems that the singer made a comment to British mag Smash Hits along the lines of how he would not kick Frisman out of bed for eating crackers, which perked her ears right up. She retorted in a subsequent interview, "Next time I see Liam Gallagher, he's for it. What a sad, I'd think he was being ironic if he wasn't so fucking thick." Decades later, Frisman demonstrated that her feelings about the Gallaghers had not changed. In response to a since-deleted 2016 tweet from Liam Gallagher that was seen as homophobic, one which drew plenty of blowback from his celebrity peers, she responded simply, "Oasis and homophobia are both outdated.